welcome to my channel. My name is Mariah and today I'm going to tell you my positive induction birth story. I will start prior to like the actual birth and discuss everything. I don't have any video clips. You can hear her in the background. I don't have any video clips to add to this, so it won't be a vlog, but more of just a story time. Unfortunately, the hospital that I had my birth in does not allow video, so I didn't take any. A part of me is thinking for the second baby, when that eventually happens, that I will like try to film some stuff, because I just personally, I want to look back on it. I'm just very curious because like I have, what I remember from the day and like how I think I handled the situation versus like actually watching the video of it. I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see like how accurate my memory is of the birth. But anyway, sorry, long intro, but let's just get started. So I was due May 24th, and for about a month before my due date, my amniotic fluid was low, and they suggested that I drink a lot more water. So I was drinking about 96 ounces of water a day, and just to keep my fluid up. And also, in addition to having low amniotic fluid, about the week before I gave birth, I just was not feeling as much movement from her. And I worked up until May 17th. That was my last day of work. I do travel for work, but leading up to my birth, I stopped traveling and I was just kind of in the office. And so I felt fine working up until a week before my due date. So May 17th was my last day of work. On May 18th, which was a Tuesday, I decided to do a kick count. And that was something my doctor had told me I should do because I had told her that I wasn't really feeling movement. And a kick count is where you basically have a sugary beverage. You pick a time when your baby is usually active, and you lay down on your side for an hour, and you count how many kicks you feel in that 1 hour after drinking a sugary beverage. And they said you should feel about 10 is the number that they said. Maybe different doctors say different things. This is not medical advice. This is just my experience. So I, in an hour and a half, I only felt 4 movements. And I called, and hiccups don't count as a movement. So I called my doctor and said, hey, it's been an hour and a half and I only felt 4 movements. And I picked a time when she's usually active, and I had the sugary beverage. So they said, we'll call you right back, because it was just somebody answering the phone. It wasn't, my doctor on the phone. And so they called back and said that go to the hospital because 4 movements in an hour and a half is not enough movement. And so I was like hesitant because I was like, well, maybe I counted wrong, and maybe she did move and I just didn't feel it, because I didn't feel movement from her until later in the pregnancy, because I had what is it called? Where your placenta is like blocking, I don't know. If I could find the name of it, I'll like put it in text or something, but, or in the description box. But basically I didn't feel her moving until way late in my pregnancy. So I was like, maybe that's why I didn't feel enough movement. But so I Snapchatted my friend and was like, should I even go? And she's like, yes, you should go. And I was like, but maybe I just wasn't like counting right. And she's like, it doesn't matter. Like, they told you to go, so go. And it's better that you go and nothing is wrong. And I'm like, okay, that's true. So I didn't bring a hospital bag. I drove myself because in my mind I was like, I'm not giving birth. and Jesse was at work, and I texted him. I was like, I'm gonna go, because I kept him up to date, and he also was like, yes, you should go. So I told him, I was like, I'm gonna go, but I think I'm just gonna go, and then they're gonna be like, okay, go home. So I drive myself there. The drive to the hospital from our house is 7 minutes. Like, I mean, it's very close to the hospital. And so the whole drive over there, I felt her moving. And I was like, really? Like, I'm feeling her moving. I don't know why I'm going. And they were like, Jesse and my best friend were like, just go. I don't care if like you're feeling movement now. Like, it doesn't hurt to go. And I'm like, okay. So I check in. They brought a wheelchair to like wheel me in to like the labor and delivery unit. And I was like, I feel perfectly fine. Like, I could walk. So I walked into the unit, and they put the monitor around my belly to check her heart rate, to monitor her heart rate. And then they gave me a little button, and every time I felt a movement, I had to press the button. And they told me if she hiccups, don't press the button. That doesn't count as a movement. And I said, okay. And so I was on the monitor for about an hour. And then when the hour was up, the nurse came in, took the like paper with all of the heart rate off of the machine, and left. So after about 15 minutes, my doctor came in, and she said, you know, you're 39 weeks, your amniotic fluid has been low, you haven't been feeling movement in the past week, and every time you have a contraction, the baby's heart rate drops. And so she highly encouraged an induction, which I was fine with, just because the safety of the baby is most important to me. Whether you are pro induction or not, that's for another day. But I just wanted our baby delivered safely. So I was like, okay, I'm fine with getting an induction. So I went into the hospital at 11 a.m. And again, because I didn't think I was going to be giving birth and I thought I was going to go home, I didn't eat anything. So luckily, my doctor said, because I told her, I was like, I didn't eat anything. I had, you know, breakfast early that morning, plus the sugary, you know, orange juice, before, while I was doing the kick count. And so she's like, you know what, eat lunch, and then we'll start the medication after you eat lunch. And I was like, okay, great. So, at that point, they, gave me an IV, and then brought me into the room where I would deliver. After they brought me into the room where I would deliver, so I had lunch, and at this time, it was before I actually ate, but I had called my parents because they were going to be in the house and watch our dogs while we were in the hospital, and they are about, I don't know, 3.5 hours away. So I called them and told them, hey, baby's coming. So they packed up and started driving over, and I had told Jesse that I hadn't even gotten the medication yet. I felt fine. So he was going to stay at the house to wait for my parents to get there to let them in and show them where like the dog food is and stuff. And also he was going to grab our hospital bags and stuff and then bring it to me. So at 3 o'clock is when they started my induction. They gave me Cervidil, which softens the cervix. And they said that the Cervidil would be in for 12 hours. And then at 3 a.m., which would be 12 hours later, they were going to do Pitocin to you know, move things along. So I started at 3 o'clock on the Cervidil, and on the monitor they could see I was having contractions. I personally did not feel my contractions at this point. I know some people feel contractions with Cervidil right away or after an hour or two. I personally did not feel contractions until around 8 p.m. And even then it was mild contractions. Like I could still talk through them, and they just felt like like a tightening of my abdomen. Like I was doing like a crunch or something. Like it was just a tightening feeling. And so from 3 to 8, I was fine. I was, you know, on my phone, watching videos and you know, perfectly fine. Around 8 o'clock, contractions started, but they were very mild. Around, I'd say 9:30 p.m. is when they like started getting a little bit more intense, but still like super manageable. I was still talking this whole time. And so whether you are pro epidural or pro natural birth or whatever, I personally did not want to get an epidural just because I wanted to be able to be up and moving, and let my body do what it wanted to do while I was having contractions. I also did not want to be on my back when I pushed. So that's the reason I didn't want to get an epidural. Because of my baby's heart rate dropping with every contraction, I was on a monitor, and I actually had a nurse in the room like almost the entire time. Like once I started actually feeling contractions, like around like 8 o'clock, 8:30, I had a nurse in the room like pretty much the entire time until I gave birth. And she was watching the heart rate monitor and putting info in. So because I was on the monitor and she was watching the monitor the whole time, I couldn't get up and like walk around or move around because it kept shifting the belt off of the baby, and so she wasn't getting accurate readings. So I had to lay on my side, and I couldn't get up. And so because I had to lay on my side and I couldn't get up, and because when I delivered, they said that I would have to be on my back, or they encouraged me. I never had to do anything, but they encouraged me to be on my back so that way they could keep the monitor on and keep an eye on it. So for that reason, I at around midnight, I did ask for the epidural because I was like, well, the reason I wanted it was because I wanted to move, and if I can't move, why am I going to feel the contraction? You know what I mean? So I ended up requesting the epidural. So I had taken a couple like hypnobirthing and like mama natural like courses, and so they don't, you know, call it pain, they call it a sensation, the sensation of a contraction. So in terms of the sensation of a contraction, they were manageable. I was breathing through them. I had Jessie like pushing on my back during contractions. I didn't have back labor. I had front contractions. And they were manageable. Had I have been able to move around or, you know, deliver not on my back, I don't think I would have gotten the epidural. I think I would have been fine. Depending on how baby number 2, when that eventually happens, like happens, I don't know if I'll get the epidural or not. So around midnight, I said, okay, I'll get the epidural. And within like 45 minutes, they came in to give me the epidural. At this point, my contractions were like super, super close together. And while we were waiting for the epidural, I even asked, I was like, how far along, like, when will I not be able to get the epidural? And my nurse said, when the baby is coming out and you are pushing, that's when you cannot get the epidural, but up until then, we can give it to you. And I was like, okay. So they came in to give me the epidural. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel the needle. It wasn't scary. I mean, it was just, you know, hunch over and sit still. So I got the epidural, and then when you get an epidural, you have to get a catheter. And when they went to place the catheter, I was already like 9.5 centimeters, like she was like, you're pretty much almost at 10. Like you will be pushing within like the next 10 minutes or so. And so because like, even thinking about that, like the fact that I handled all of my contractions through transition, like up until the point where you're like about to, push, like my epidural didn't come until I was pretty much like 9 centimeters. So again, I think I could do without it, but at the same time, like nothing wrong happened. So I don't know how I feel next time around, but I was 9.5 centimeters and they paged my doctor to come in. And so as we were waiting on my doctor, they were trying to get my heart rate. But I don't know if it was because of the epidural or because I was ready to push or what, but I got the shivers. So I was just like shivering, like I was so cold. And they couldn't get an accurate reading on my heart rate because I was shaking so much. It kept like giving like really high heart rates, and really I have a really low heart rate. Even throughout this entire labor, I had a very low heart rate. And so because they weren't getting an accurate read, the doctor came in and was like, we're not gonna have you push because you're shaking and we can't get a read on your heart rate. So we're gonna come back in an hour. And I was like, okay. Sorry if you hear noise. That's my baby with a little toy. So my doctor said we're gonna wait an hour. And so during that hour, basically they were just like, okay, you need to like breathe deep and calm your nerves. That way I stop shivering and they can get an accurate heart rate reading on me. And so honestly, I was like shivering for like 40 minutes maybe. And so finally, like I stopped. They even like called the anesthesiologist who gave me the epidural. They even called him back in to like double check that nothing went wrong because I like literally was like shaking so hard. And he's like, there's nothing wrong. And I was like, I feel fine. I don't know why I'm shaking. I'm just like it was like an uncontrollable, like cold shake. But I felt fine. So after about an hour, I had stopped shivering. My doctor came back in and was like, okay, let's push. And it's so weird because like you can't feel your legs. And so like your legs are up and they tell you like, okay, push. And again, you can't feel anything from like the waist down. So I was like, I don't even know if I'm pushing right. And so I asked, I was like, am I doing it right? And they're like, yes, you are. And I was like, okay. So I don't know if like you're watching this because you've never given birth and you just want to watch birth stories. But when you push, you only push during a contraction. So you have a contraction for a minute and then you'll have like 5-ish minutes of downtime before you push again. And so because of that, when people say, oh, it's only 4 pushes, it's usually 4 rounds of pushing. So you push like 2 or 3 times during like 1 round of pushing. So when my doctor came in and it was time to start pushing, I pushed for 4 rounds, which was about 30 minutes total. And my baby was out on that Wednesday at 2:34 in the morning. So from start to finish, I had the Cervidil placed at 3 p.m. on the 18th, and then at 2:30 a.m. or 2:34 a.m. On the 19th, I delivered. So it was less than 12 hours from start to finish. And again, I didn't really start feeling contractions until 8 p.m. They didn't get, stronger until 9, but they weren't really like in a strong sensation until about 11-ish. And that's when I asked for the epidural. But again, it was manageable. I don't know if I'll get the epidural next time. So After I delivered, she was doing great. Yeah, I'm very thankful that I had wonderful nurses. I have a wonderful doctor. My experience was very pleasant. I would get induced again if I had to, and yeah, I had a wonderful, positive labor and delivery, and I'm very thankful for that. And I'm thankful for a healthy baby. And afterwards, I did break out in a rash that covered my neck, shoulders, chest, stomach, thighs, like my entire front and top was covered in a rash. My back wasn't, and we were trying to figure out why I broke out in a rash. I do have a latex allergy, so they had a latex allergy sign on the door. They removed all latex gloves from the room, but we don't know if maybe I got exposed to latex, and that's what caused my rash, or if I just had a reaction to the epidural, but then it wasn't on my back. So we don't know why I got a rash, but I did get a rash that lasted for about like the first week postpartum. But I'd say that was the only like complication during my delivery. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are pregnant with your first baby and you're worried about getting induced, my experience was great. I know there are some people that don't have great experiences with getting induced, but it was great for me. So don't be afraid, and definitely practice your breathing, and roll with it. If you I didn't want the epidural, but I wasn't steadfast. I wasn't like, no, like I refuse to get the epidural. So roll with the punches, be flexible. Oh, that's one thing I forgot to mention. I did tear. I had a 2nd-degree tear. So the benefit to the epidural was I didn't feel the tear, and I didn't feel them stitching me up. So maybe I won't get an epidural next time just to not feel the tearing. But it happens. People tear. But please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. I post all different kinds of videos, grocery hauls, like cooking videos, decorating, hauls, birth stories. So I post like a whole gambit of videos, and I haven't been posting super consistently because of the baby, but I do really want to get back into the swing of filming, because it's a hobby that I love. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.